Well, hello, John Browning. Your week going well for you, sir?
It is going fantastic.
I'm glad. Hey, I want to, speaking of fantastic, we ended the last podcast in a very fantastic way because you were telling us about a story of a client of yours who has a daughter who's like 18, and the daughter has been earning some money, and she talked to you and said, I want to invest some of my money. And you were blown away because somebody that young, who is now your youngest client, has the mindset to invest. And that was really cool. And the question I want to ask is, you gave her some financial counsel and advice because she's a client. We don't do that here on the podcast, right? But you gave her some financial advice. Did you give her any dating advice?
Well, being the expert that I am in dating, because I have dated maybe 3-4 people in my entire life, and one of them has been my wife for the past 30 some years. So I decided maybe I shouldn't give her any dating advice at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's probably wise. That's probably wise. So the reason I asked that, John, is I want to turn that on its head a little bit and talk about dating advice from a different perspective. And that's about talking to people like me, I'm in my mid 50s now, looking at the date for my retirement. That kind of dating advice, because you probably have some counsel for me at some level, or other people who are thinking about retirement. I mean, I look at my life, if I'm 55 this year, retirement's probably 18 years away from me, I'm guessing, because I'm going to work for a long time. I love what I do. But other people have a shorter time frame. They have a date set in mind. What can you tell us about dating? And do people have certain dates set for them, or can we choose our own retirement date? What's your thought around dating advice?
Well, it's probably one of the more common questions that we get, and it's also one of the toughest to answer. And frankly, there is no one answer that works for everybody, as is so often the case, because everybody's different. Because some want to retire, and I always call it, what's your life after formal work look like? Because most people, not everyone, but most people view retirement as not something that you stop doing and then don't do anything after. They look at something else, and they want to be involved with something else. Maybe it's full-time grandparenting or whatever that might be for them. And a lot of others want some sort of a hybrid lifestyle. I don't want to work 40 hours a week anymore, but you can only golf so much. You can only fish so much. And frankly, even grandmas like the benefit of being a grandma, which means that you can give the baby back. You can give the kids back. That's one of the greatest things about being a grandparent. So what do you do? Do you have some sort of a hybrid thing? Maybe you liked what you did, and those are frankly a little bit easier because you're bringing in some income,
right? And
you haven't completely given up that paycheck. All these things are valid. It's just how you envision your best life and how you want to plan for that. So I would say that those looking for the hybrid idea, that's more of a transition and still bringing in some income, I would say, generally speaking, they can wait a little bit longer before they do things like make a decision on when to take Social Security, which is one of the biggest things you have to answer. And when people ask me that, I said, well, how long do you plan on living? Which nobody can really answer, right? And so neither can I.
Yeah, that's...
But it's, anybody born after 1960, they can start taking a full retirement at 67.
Yeah.
You can actually take it earlier, but you take a pretty steep haircut on what you get for Social Security.
Yes.
Really steep hit. Now, even at 67, you take that full retirement, but you can wait just a few, another year, and I think now it's down to the quarters. I may be wrong on that, but every quarter, every year, it goes up a pretty decent amount. Like, you're not going to be able, generally speaking, not going to be able to make that much in the market.
Right.
So, but if you wait too long, you can't take your Social Security check with you.
Well, that's so true. Okay. So we've talked about this. I'm helping a recent widow, right? Through financial things. Her husband worked 40 years for this one corporation. And he had thought about retiring in the last year or two, but then he put it off a little bit longer, worked a few more years. So he never got his retirement, his Social Security. Now she gets a portion of his or something because he's gone now, but it starts. I mean, there are like, somebody told me there are like 500 ways, different decisions you can make in taking retirement when and how. It's confusing. And that's just Social Security.
Right. And that's not even getting into, do I take money from my Roth account? Do I take money from my 401k monies? Do I take money from my individual? Do I take money from none of those and just take money from my taxable accounts? Which ones do I take first? Is there a mix? It all depends on the individual.
And without the proper planning, many people will do the, dare I say, wrong thing because it's out of ignorance. They're just saying, well, I'll just take this. But with a little bit of planning, John, you can help people say, well, you could, or if you do it this way, it might help you build the life that you really want because of the tax ramifications or whatever. I'm sure there are 1,000 different things, but that's why somebody like you in your role and position of being really an advisor, I guess, is you look at each client's situation, try to figure out where they are, where they want to go, what kind of life they have, and say, okay, you have 8 buckets of money. What's the best way to start using them to create the life you want? I mean, isn't that kind of how it should be?
That is correct. That's exactly right. And, there's of course the debate, will Social Security even be there, or will it be completely changed? Or, if you're younger, what Social Security Administration has taught us very well, if you're in your younger years, and you should be planning right now, but often aren't, will they make that 67, 70? Mm-hmm. My guess is yes, because they've done that going, it used to be much younger than that. You could start taking Social Security. So.
Yeah. And we should do a whole episode just on Social Security, John, because there's so many fun facts of just that, because if they move that minimum age out, that just means that if I were going to retire at 70 and they just moved it to 73, let's say, that affects, can I retire or not if I'm banking on that money, right?
Yes. And the other thing that people don't think about when they're younger, I'm starting to think about it more now, because when I get up out of bed in the morning now, things hurt that didn't hurt before. But, when you're young, you're like, oh, I'm just going to work forever, right? I'm going to feel this way forever. I'm going to have this much energy forever. And, hopefully with diet and exercise and all that cool stuff, you'll be able to do it for longer. But the way God made us is that we do get older and our energy decreases, our body hurts in places we didn't know we had, and you just don't feel like working 40, 60, 70, 80 hours a week anymore.
That's right. I just thought when you were saying that, I thought, all of the superhero movies, all those superheroes are young.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
That's right. Captain America, remember? Right? I digress. But in the last one, what was it? I can't remember the one. Is that Infinity Wars, or was there one after? Anyway,
I get all confused.
He decided that he wanted to age, so he did that whole time travel thing. And because staying young might not be as cool as you thought it was.
That's right. Yeah. Seriously, I wouldn't want to go back, but but you've got a plan, and we all, that's why John gives great dating advice when you're thinking about retirement planning and just planning your life. Even to this 18-year-old girl that's a new client, you can give her some dating advice, John, not in relationships necessarily, but in financial world of, wow, she's got a long horizon. If she's 18, call her 20, she's got 50 years probably of investing, of working.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow. She could set herself up really well right now if she makes some good moves now and is, what's that word you always use? Consistent.
And yes.
Does a little bit of planning. And that's what we need people to do, is just connect with you at guardianrockwealth.com and just start the process. It's everything seems like a climbing Mount Everest until you start doing it. And when you've got a Sherpa like John, It's really, he'll tell you what to pack and what to bring and ask you the questions to really figure out, what do you want? What kind of life do you want to build? Because that's more important than the type of portfolio you have, right? Because your portfolio should support your life and the dreams that you have and what you want to do now and in retirement. It's a both and that's what you help your clients do, right, John?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So just reach out to John, guardianrockwealth.com. All kinds of information there. He's got a new report on understanding retirement, the 8 common misperceptions, I think, or misunderstandings of retirement.
Mhm.
Just go to his contact us page, request a copy of his Amazon bestselling book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio, or request a Zoom call or a phone call or an in-person meeting with John. And just talk with him about some of these things, because it's just complex. Making sure you're setting yourself up properly and you understand all the ins and outs of investing and stocks and bonds. And that's what John does. Let him do what he does best. And he gives some really good dating advice. So reach out to him.
All right.
And we will look forward to the next podcast when we'll get off the dating thing. But we're going to talk about some other cool things, especially in a couple episodes. We're going to really talk about honoring somebody, and that's going to be really fun. So until then, John, go have a great week. Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see you later.